So I guess we can get started. So welcome everyone to our webinar of today. We will be counting with Valentina Cano and Piero Santoro, and they are from our team that is dedicated to the creation of chatbots. Okay, and that will be the topic of today's webinar. And chatbots have been very, very helpful for many of our customers. This is our first webinar in English. We have been offering this to our Spanish-speaking customers, but well, it was time for us to offer this also to our English-speaking customers. So, well, everyone is welcome. You're welcome to ask questions, both to Valentina or to Piero. And, well, you can start, Valentina, and thank you for your time.
Yes. Wait. Sorry, 1 second. You can see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So as Sophia mentioned, I'm going to be talking today about how you can create your own generative AI chatbot using Google Cloud Platform tools. So just to give a little bit of an agenda of what we're going to be talking about today, first, we're going to discuss kind of some initial concepts about Gen AI and some use cases. Then we're going to be talking about the GCP kind of ML environment, which they call Vertex AI, and the different subsets within it. And then we're going to be discussing kind of specifically about the Vertex AI chat agent builder chatbot. And lastly, we're going to have a fun demo where I'm going to be creating an agent builder chatbot from scratch with you guys so you can see how the process is. My name is Valentina, and then Kristen is also going to join in a bit to kind of support me with any questions that you might have. So just some context about eSource. So eSource is a company that has more than 17 years of experience working with Google Cloud Platform and Google Workspace services in a variety of sectors. We work with customer needs to kind of understand what solutions we can bring in a lot of different areas, and then we can help you define them, implement them, and then also kind of help you with along the way if you have any kind of follow-up feedback or anything like that, we can help you carry out the whole solution. So we're in 27 countries, mainly in America, so in the US and Latam, but we're also in Spain and Italy. I'm actually currently in Spain. And what we've worked with, you can see there the numbers with so many clients and accounts that we really kind of have a lot of experience working with this Google environment. We also have a lot of specialization. So we can see here, we have infrastructure, data analytics. We've even won award of Partner of the Year, have experience with AppSheet as well to develop applications quickly. And one thing that's not here, but I wanted to mention is that Google has a new specialization about Gen AI that they just released a month ago, I think. And so we're now applying to get that one as well, because we've been working with these technologies for a while now. So we kind of have all the requirements, and we're going to be specialized in Gen AI as well. So now a little bit of the theory. So we wanted to talk about the difference between discriminative AI and generative AI. We've been hearing a lot about generative AI in the news, that now it kind of seems like AI is only generative AI. But there have been a lot of kind of AI solutions that have been with us for decades already. And discriminative AI is kind of another subset of machine learning and AI that we want to explain. So starting with an example, let's say that you have a data set of labeled data that gives you kind of images that are dogs and images that are cats. If you were to train an ML model, then you can, like a discriminative model, then after that, you can create a program, and then you can input a new image of a dog or a cat, and then it can identify. So as we can see in that image, in the little kind of where it separates the nodes, we can see that discriminative AI, what it does is that it creates kind of a boundary in the data so that once you give it this labeled data, it can learn to recognize patterns, and then it can predict, once you give it a new input, in which of these categories it falls into. So it learns the relationship between the features of a data set and the labels that you give it. So features of a data set are kind of like the characteristics. So let's say you have a data set of movies, then the features would be the columns. So let's say the name, the genre, the actors, things like that. So those would be the features. So then generative AI, the difference is that it learns a probability distribution of the data. So it's very good at creating new data based on similar data. So it can create new text. For example, all of these models like Gemini, that they've been fed a lot of text, so it's very good at predicting the next word in the sequence. But it can also generate like images, videos. So continuing with the example of the dog, instead of saying whether it's a cat or a dog, in this case, let's say that it's been trained with a lot of data about dogs, and you can say generate a new image of a dog, and then it would give that to you. So we want to mention as well some research that Google Cloud did on a global level about the priority use cases of Gen AI, so that we can kind of understand maybe why Google is creating the solution of creating search bots, like search and chat bots, so easily and quickly. So they found that 73% of use cases are with chatbots and search engines. So these can be like as a support desk, as an assistant, as a financial advisor, and we always put and more because it really depends kind of on the company. We always learn about new use case once we talk with clients, but it's kind of what you would think of when you think of a chatbot, very helpful. Then 65% software development. So this is very useful for developers and software engineers. So given that it's been trained with so much code that's already been written, you can now use, so for example, in the Colab notebooks that Google has, it's very easy to generate code, just giving it like a natural language request. So you can use Gen AI to generate code, to complete documentation that's very useful, which is a bit like repetitive. It can even help you correct code. And well, there's always new kind of features of this code generation that you can that we're learning about with Gen AI. And then lastly, 58% is more general automation. So here we can see some examples: entity validation, extraction, managing your documents. There's just a lot of different things that you can do for automating your workflow. So now to the actual Google ML environment. So it's called Vertex AI, and within it, there's a lot of different tools. I've actually been amazed by how kind of easy and intuitive it is to create models and use models and build agents and everything within Google, because the great thing is that it really puts like everything within the same platform. So the place where you host the data, where you learn, like where you train from it, where you can tune the model, everything is there. So first, the Vertex Model Garden, I wanted to talk about that one. So Model Garden is a place where Google kind of puts a lot of models that have already been created for you to be able to use them. This is still kind of a more technical solution. Here we can see there's foundational models. So foundational models being Gemini is kind of the most famous one, but these are models that have been trained with massive amounts of data, and now they've become kind of like a brain that already knows how to predict and create new content. But then we also have more specific models, for example, speech to text, text to speech, OCR, all of these models that we've actually been using for so many years already, but maybe we didn't think of them as AI. But we can also access those very specific models, because the truth is that you don't always need a foundational model. Some things, some applications are very specific, and it's actually better to just use like that specific use case. So that speech to text or translation model, instead of using the whole like Gemini model. So this is the Vertex AI Model Garden. This is where you can access these models. Then the model builder is kind of a step more like developer heavy, because it's a place where you can give data and then you can produce your own models there. Google makes it a lot easier and more intuitive, but that's a place where you can build your own models. And then lastly, Agent Builder, which is the very low code, no code solution that we're going to be discussing today. It's a solution that Google has been working on so that you can create search engines, chatbots, and recommendation engines very easily with really almost no code if you don't need to integrate it with any other platform. So here, what we're talking about, Agent Builder. So it can be no code, which is what we're going to be talking about today. It could be low code in the sense that you can also maybe integrate it or add some webhooks for it if you want to add some additional, let's say, I don't know, you want the chatbot to have a more specific rendering when you have it in an integration with Google Chat, then you can maybe write some code to integrate into the chatbot so that you can just customize it a bit more. And then full code would be where you fully create kind of the search engine and the chatbot from scratch. So continuing with Vertex AI Agent Builder, what we were discussing before, you have these 4 application types. Google is always creating new ones. It actually used to be called search and conversation because it was only search and chat, and now we have also recommendations and agent. So search is a search engine, but with generative AI introduced into it. So you can you search something, and then it would have kind of a summarized text, and you can configure that to be however you want it. So you can say, well, I want it to be a very long summary. I want it to give you links. I want it to not give you links. So if you currently use like regular Google search, I sometimes get like a generative summary. It says that it's still testing. So that would be similar to what this search engine would give you. Something very important to emphasize is that in all of these Agent Builder apps, what is very different is that you can limit it only to data from your company. And that data is safe within the GCP platform because we have the governance over it. It's stored like in cloud storage, or just you have full control over that data, and it's not just open to anywhere on the internet. So that would be a search engine. Then the recommendation, it's a recommendation engine. And then agent is still in preview, but it would be more specific, kind of you can define the workflow of what you wanted to do with the data. And then lastly, the chatbot, which is what we're talking about today. It is a platform, an app where you talk to it in natural language, and then you can have a conversation, and you can, again, use it for a variety of kind of things. You can use it as maybe an assistant in an HR department. We've also had a client that was a pharmacy, and they wanted to use it to help pharmacists kind of access information about different medicines quickly. There's just a lot of different use cases. So the data sources, as I was talking about before, you need to actually give it the data that you want it to be kind of trained. Well, it's already trained on the foundational model, like that's the brain of it, but then you also give it data from where it's accessing to be able to give you that all those answers. So in the case of the chatbot, there's 3 options currently. There's a website, so you can connect it to your website. There's a caveat here, which is that you have to be the owner of the website because there are some additional configurations that you need to do for it to be able to kind of access it. And then there's also a lot of APIs that we're not going to discuss today. And then lastly, cloud storage is where we kind of do it 99% of the time, which is you put the data in a bucket in cloud storage, and then it accesses it from there. So going a bit deeper now that we've discussed what the data sources are and the different types of apps that you can do with Agent Builder, specifically for a chatbot, this is kind of the GCP services that you need to be able to use it, that it's using in the backend. So cloud storage, or a website that I mentioned to store the data. Then it uses something called a data store where it indexes the data warehouse. So by indexing, I mean that it converts it to vectors so that it's easily searchable and retrievable. And essentially it converts the data, whatever it's in PDF, if it has images, into kind of numbers that a computer can use to be able to read and then give you those answers and predictions and everything. Then it uses the Vertex AI Agent Builder, which is the place where you create the apps that we discussed and that I'm going to demo soon. And then lastly, it uses something called Dialogflow CX. So this is actually very interesting. So Dialogflow has existed for years now, but it was a platform for those more traditional chatbots where you define a flow and you would kind of give it like different paths that it could go to. And now you can use it, well, you can still use it for that, but Google made it so that you can use it with generative AI capabilities as well. So currently you can have kind of a hybrid if you want to as well, where you can have some like a chatbot setup where you started out with different paths. And then once you're in the path, you can say, okay, now you can respond from the generative AI technology. So it's a really great service because it's already been worked on for so many years on kind of how to create a chatbot. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that if you're putting it up for public use, it's really important to put a reCAPTCHA so that for security, so that you ensure that it's a human who's using it and it's not kind of automated bots that are just billing you up for overusage. So to put it in an image here, maybe to kind of visualize it a bit better, what I just described. So you would start with the company files, and then you put those into a cloud storage bucket. Once it's in the cloud storage bucket, you create the data store where you index the data. Then you go and you create the app in the agent builder. Then you can manipulate it here and change some settings and add anything you need in the Dialogflow console. And then you can integrate it with Google Chat, with Slack. There's a lot of different integrations that, Google is always releasing new ones. And so a lot of them are still in preview. But today we're going to put it into a Google site with some HTML code. And then you can give this Google site to the user and they can use the chatbot. So now for the demo, but also if anyone has any questions right now before the demo. Okay.
Any questions?
Okay, so now for the demo. So wait, let me change the. Okay. So we're going to be creating a chatbot about kind of Oscars and Emmy Awards. I thought it would be fun. So here we can see we have it already in a cloud storage. So because I don't want to go through kind of that process. So we already have the data in a cloud storage. So here I have it pinned up, but if you can't find Agent Builder, you can always use the search bar. So here we are in Agent Builder. So then you would say create app. Here is what I was mentioning before, that the 4 different app types. So I would select chat, company name, e-source, agent name, region. It's better to choose like one region instead of global. Then here is what I was mentioning about the data store. So we would create a data store. Storage. Here we can see the different types of data that you can ingest into it. Again, they're always adding new features. So here it says that document like docx and PowerPoint is still in preview. Currently, you can do PDF, HTML, text, and more for unstructured data. So we're going to select the bucket where we have those PDFs about movies. So let's say words data store. Okay. You do have options here. So there's different types of parsers. Digital parser is like a general one. Layout parser, it's very good at identifying hierarchies. So kind of like title, subtitle for PDFs that have selectable text. And then I'm going to choose OCR, so optical character recognition, because this is the best one for when it has images. And some of these PDFs have images. Okay. So now we've created our... So I'm going to leave this link here just so that I can show you later. So it takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of time for the data to index because of the calculations it has to do that I mentioned before. So I actually created another chatbot before so that the data would already be indexed, that I'm going to use kind of for the rest of the demo. But okay, so this is Dialogflow that I was mentioning. So here is where you can, we're not going to do that today, but you can add more flows and routes. It's kind of a node platform. So here, once you're within this Dialogflow platform, there's a lot more settings that you can add to the chatbot. So for example, if you go into the generative AI tab here, you can change the safety filters. You can also change the generative fallback is kind of what it will answer if it doesn't have, and what it falls back to, right? If it doesn't have that immediate answer. So you can also change that. And then this part is very important. So you want to give it a name here, and then a company description and an agent scope. So here I'm going to say, sorry, 1 second, award bot, chatbot, eSource Capital. Let's say it's a media company, even though that's not true, but, and then answering questions. The reason for this is that it gives it context on how it's going to be accessing that data store. And then we also see this feature grounding. Grounding is the level of confidence that the answer needs to be able to be presented to you. So if you give it a higher grounding, it's going to, you kind of, the answer is more true. The probability of it being true is higher. The reason why we kind of avoid actually putting high is that then it can happen that the chatbot asks you kind of, oh, I don't understand the question, can you rephrase, a lot more. So it really depends on the use case. If it's something kind of, if you're a client that really, really needs the data to be exact, then you put it higher. If you don't really care if it kind of makes, not makes things up, but that it's a bit more creative with it, with its answers, and you can put it lower. So I'm going to go to the other chatbot that I had created that already has the data store index so that I can kind of continue with the demo. So you can test it here. And let's say, what are the Oscars? I don't know. And it answers. So this is a bit for the testing. But now that we know that it works, I'm going to show you how you can publish it. So to publish it in the Google site, what you do is that you click. It takes you to this menu. So you select whether you want it to be pop out. So that's a little icon, and then it kind of goes up, or a side panel. I'm going to choose side panel. Enable the unauthenticated API, and then it gives you this code. If you understand kind of CSS and HTML, you can add additional here, like style CSS, if you want to change the colors, the font family, kind of comment it out. So now we're going to go to our Google chat that I created. So you would insert, kind of embed, then embed code. HTML code goes here. You insert it. You can make it bigger if you'd like. And then you can now publish the website. And now I'm going to go to the publish site, and we can start testing it out. So I have some questions here. So I usually first just say hi. Let's say if I asked the chatbot, what can you help me with? Okay. Then let's say, when were the first Academy Awards? And it gives you a link to the document that it's referring to. Let's ask it, who won Best Picture in 2019? Okay, it's giving me a link, but it's asking it difference between Oscars and Emmys. And well, the possibilities are endless. You can really kind of feed it. I mean, this was just an example I made with a couple PDFs explaining what the Oscars and Emmys are. But if you do it with kind of your company data, you can create just a lot of different chatbots from very important information from your company. So yeah, this is the demo I had for today and the presentation. So if you have any questions, please let me know.